Chamberlain's size, strength, and athleticism were unimaginable. He made large men appear small, and when he played, it seemed all too easy, almost unfair. His numbers were too big for comfort. He didn't just break records, he destroyed them. Basketball was Wilt Chamberlain's sandbox.
He was such an overpowering physical figure that he could rule the game.
His size and his strength and his athletic ability, he dominated the sport. You've never seen anything like it before or since.
One sports writer likened the first sight of Wilt to the first sight of the New York City skyline. It was majestic, whether seen from up close or afar. You just kind of went, wow.
People felt that Wilt was larger than the game because Wilt did things that were never done before he got here, and I don't think they'll ever be done again.
The Warriors run a play and I get picked, and now I'm guarding Wilt. In one motion, he picked me up, put the ball through, then set me on top of the basket. And he had a big smile on his face. He was a very strong man, very strong man.
He played a game against the Detroit Pistons. In the game, he blocked 26 shots. It's not possible for any human being to do the kinds of things that he was able to do.
The 55 rebound game, how about that, against Bill Russell?
I think they had no way to compare what I was doing. It was so far out of the realm of believability that they had no way to compare.
How do you stop the guy? There's only one way to do it, with an axe.
In an 80-game season, he played 79 complete games. He missed 8 minutes of one game because it got thrown out. Other than that, he played every moment of every one of those games.
That was inconceivable to us. How the hell do you stay so strong all season? How do you avoid fouling out? How do you take a beating every night with guys pushing you, punching you, grabbing you, and come back the next night fresh as a daisy? How the hell do you do this, Wilt?
I think probably Wilt dominated the game more than anyone else. And the reason I say that because Wilt could do it on both ends of the floor. Offensively, no one could guard it. And defensively, Wilt was going after every shot.
He was about as dominant as any one player could ever be in any sport.
Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game. He probably averaged 75 a game if we were playing today. You know why I say that? Because you can't put your hand on guys. When I played, you could hand check them. Now you can't hand check them. So it's much more difficult to stop players that way.
He played in the league at this point in his career. When he was 25, 27 years old, he would lead the league in scoring, he would lead the league in rebounding, he would lead the league in block shots. This man was a man for all ages.
This was more than just some big guy who dunked the basketball and ran up and down the court. This was a true athlete, and his physical prowess was unbelievable. You hear players compare players in certain eras, and I would love to see him play against some of these centers today. It would be pretty embarrassing for them, to be candid with you.
Wilt, there will never be anybody like they always say that about Michael, they always say that about other players, but there will never, ever be another Wilt Chamberlain.
Chamberlain's 61-62 season it almost looks cartoon-like in its dominance. Michael Jordan scored 50 or more points 31 times in his career. Impressive. Wilt did it 45 times in one season.
People don't remember was that my first 7 years, I scored a lot of points. Then I stopped scoring on my own volition. I tried to do other things. I was asked to do other things, and that's what I did. In the last 7 years, it wasn't about points for me. It was about trying to do other things. If I was conscious about thinking about, is anyone going to break this record? I'd have probably put that record way out of sight.
It was a classic confrontation. The greatest defensive player and the greatest offensive player ever. This was the greatest competitive thing, I think, in the history of American sports.
7 feet, 1 inch tall, and as athletic as any man who ever walked the earth. You try guarding that on a basketball court sometime.
When Wilt came to the league, total monster. Okay. I can't explain it to you. But you think about this, he averaged 50 points a game for a whole season.
That's his average, 50. Every game.
Now, you have to have energy to even do that.
I'll never forget when we first started playing against each other. And what I used to always do is I'd size up the guy that I'm going to play against and see how I have to play against him. And so I look at him and I add up his assets and put his liabilities on this side. So I said, tall, strong. Well, most people know there were never 5 guys in the league that I know. And then he was smart. You couldn't trick him. You know, that was bad. And so I said, geez, what am I gonna do? I gotta show up. The game's on the schedule, I gotta play it.
Everybody has exactly the same memory that by 4:30 on a Sunday, Bill Russell was walking off winning and Wilt Chamberlain was walking off losing.
I've seen Wilt get down on the floor and beat his hands on the floor, hands and knees. He was so frustrated.
He played the game like no one had ever seen. He did things no one might ever see again. He was superhuman on the basketball court and everywhere else. Wilt was capable of just about anything. Like scoring 100 points in a single game. 100 points.
Wilt Chamberlain was far and away the best player I've ever played against. For a number of reasons. First of all, physically he was still the most imposing physical player that's ever played this league, period. There's no one that's come close to him in terms of just physical prowess. On top of that, he's a great athlete. And the last thing that created a problem was he was smart.
He was the smartest guy I played against. In fact, I told him, I said, you know, Wilt, I think I'm the only guy on this planet that knows how really good you are.
I never could stop him, but I could put some speed bumps. That's the best I could come up with.
Nobody wanted to face me single. Nobody. Bill Russell or 5 Bill Russells.
Both those men played at a level that was beyond anything the sport had ever seen, and for Chamberlain's sake, more than the sport may ever see again.